On the dawn of our special day, I found myself waking up in solitude, not due to my husband's departure, yet since he was already downstairs, composing messages, perpetually dispatching messages. That week marked my 52nd birthday, 27 years of wedded bliss, 3 adult offspring, a dwelling brimming with unspoken memories and forgotten conversations. He arranged a private photo shoot as a thoughtful gift, stated that we must celebrate properly this year, stated it as if it were a formal engagement, effective, compensated for, addressed. "I may arrive a bit later," he remarked, taking a sip of his coffee, his gaze fixed on his phone. "Please go ahead. Don't let me hold you back." In an instant, as I drove into the studio parking lot, a sense of anticipation washed over me. By oneself, adorned in a gentle beige dress, and lipstick that had remained untouched since last Christmas. The air in the studio was infused with the scent of fresh paint and lavender. As I pushed the door open, a delicate bell chimed softly, filling the air with its gentle sound. He raised his gaze from behind the lens. Youthful. In the early 30s perhaps. Raven locks. A pristine white shirt, casually rolled at the sleeves. That subtle fervor some creators possess, as if they're perpetually lingering in another realm. "You must be Mrs. Lowell," he remarked, rising to his feet, a soft smile gracing his lips. "I am Eli, wishing you a joyful anniversary." His voice carried a hushed timbre, cozy, excessively generous for a person who was a stranger to me. I inclined my head in agreement. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, despite its persistent escape. "My husband may not survive," I uttered. He hesitated, if only for a brief moment, then spoke. "Indeed. Let us create something exquisite for you." The initial shots were typical. I am standing. I find myself seated, fingers interlaced. A smile graced my lips, the type of smile that graces both joyous celebrations and somber farewells. Beautiful, rehearsed, empty. His words were few. I just pressed the shutter button, modified a light, then came to a halt. "I want to explore a new path," he remarked, approaching me with deliberate steps. "Could you take a seat on that stool? Just turn a bit to the side like this." He repositioned the light that was cast behind me. Gentle shadows caress one side of my face. He took a step back. "At this moment," he remarked, "refrain from smiling." I blinked. "I apologize." "Refrain from smiling. Simply inhale and exhale. Gaze upon me, not the perspective. Me." There was a moment of uncertainty, then gazed upward, and he cast a glance behind him. Not by my hand, not behind me, upon me. A flutter stirred within my chest, like a bird I had thought long gone. He clicked the shutter. At one time, on the other hand, I remained still. No smile was offered, did not conceal, and in that instant, I experienced a vulnerability that surpassed any exposure I had ever felt, even while fully clothed. He gently lowered the camera. "I appreciate it," he remarked. Stillness. Authentic. It had been years since anyone had expressed gratitude towards me, merely for the act of being noticed. We captured a handful more. I transformed, slipping into a delicate blue blouse. He graciously provided tea during the breaks between setups. Chamomile. Without sweetness. As the clock chimed 12, he cast his gaze toward the door, then returned to my gaze. "Is he still on his way?" I gently shook my head. "I doubt that." He remained silent, offering no questions, simply nodded, and proclaimed, "So then this can simply be for you." I made my way home, my heart caught in my throat. I reassured myself that it was merely a photo shoot, that I was overreacting. Yet there was an undeniable quality in the way he gazed at me. It wasn't as if I were unseen, but I was truly deserving of a moment's pause. Remained by my side. That evening, my husband hardly inquired about how it unfolded. I assured him that everything was all right. He nodded, his consciousness beginning to slip away. Yet, I lingered in wakefulness long after, disregarding the images, contemplating the artist behind the lens, and the woman she made me feel like. For merely 1 hour. During a serene afternoon, within a room infused with the essence of lavender. 2 days later I returned. It was unexpected. I informed my husband that I wished to give my approval on the final prints. He scarcely lifted his gaze from the screen of his laptop. "Of course," he murmured. "Remember to grab the dry cleaning on your way home." As though I hadn't just confided in him that I was heading back to the very spot where I began to rediscover the essence of being alive. Once more, the studio fell into a hushed stillness. Eli welcomed me with that familiar half-smile, the sort that seemed genuine and unforced. "I have them loaded up," he remarked, leading me behind the curtain and toward a softly illuminated computer in the editing bay. Countless photographs adorned the space. Yet it was the moment when my lips were not curved in a smile, where I appeared caught in a delicate balance, teetering between tears and the haunting echoes of a memory best left untouched. That took my breath away. "What do you think of this one?" he inquired. I inclined my head in agreement. I then shook my head. "I'm not sure," I murmured. "It's the most sincere," he remarked. I pivoted toward him with deliberate slowness. "Do you see that?" He gazed at me for an extended moment. "It seems you haven't taken a moment to reflect on yourself in quite a while." "Not quite." I chuckled, yet it shattered midway. "My husband is simply looking for something to adorn the dining room." Eli remained expressionless. He reclined in his chair, interlacing his fingers in his lap. "What is it that you desire?" The question struck with an unexpected intensity. Once more I gazed at the photograph. Focused closely. There I stood, eyes weary, lips slightly ajar, as if I had just released a hidden truth. I averted my gaze. "This isn't what I came here for." "I understand," he replied. "Yet you did." After a stretch of 10 minutes enveloped in silence, he accompanied me to the door. The atmosphere felt heavy, laden with an unspoken tension. Not intimate, not suggestive. It lingered, thick with an unarticulated weight. As I was about to depart, he inquired, "May I have another?" At this moment, my gaze fell upon him, barefaced, hair swept away from the face, cheeks warmed from the unmistakable gaze. I inclined my head in agreement. He raised the camera with deliberate slowness, captured me in the soft glow of the late afternoon sun. "Please, no posing," he murmured gently. "Simply, embrace the essence of who you are in this moment." I certainly did. With just one click, I experienced a vulnerability unlike any I had ever known. Upon my return home, I remained silent. I chose not to share the details of the second visit with my husband. I refrained from sharing the picture with him. However, I went ahead and printed it. It was folded with meticulous care and tucked it away in the depths of my dresser drawer. Not to conceal it from him, to conceal it from my own awareness. For I found myself unable to tear my gaze away from the depths of that woman's eyes, and pondering the moment I ceased to be her. The third occasion I laid eyes on him, I didn't even mention to my husband that I was leaving. I simply departed. I reminded myself that it was time to complete the edits. I wished to give my approval for the frames. I had some tasks to attend to in that area of the city. Yet the reality was more straightforward. I longed to catch another glimpse of him. Eli welcomed me as if my arrival had been anticipated. Hardly a shock. Not arrogant. Simply prepared. "I've kept your favorite for the grand finale," he remarked, leading me into the serene confines of the editing bay. He retrieved the photograph, the one from the second visit. Without any makeup. No pose. Simply myself. It possessed a certain charm that was hard to resist. A realm of the divine. He gazed upon it, then looked at me, then spoke. "May I pose a question to you?" I nodded, a sense of trepidation washing over me at the thought of the answer that lingered just out of reach. "Do you find joy in your life?" I stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. It was the sort of inquiry that remains unspoken once you've tied the knot. Once you become a parent. After the meal is prepared and the expenses are settled. Do you find joy in your life? It finds no place among grocery lists and shared calendars. I chuckled, a faint choke noise. "Certainly. My life is quite fulfilling. But does it belong to you?" he inquired softly, and I shattered. Not fond of tears. Uninterested in theatrics. I fell into silence. At last, when I responded, I uttered a truth I had long kept buried. It seems I lost myself at some point during the journey. He made no attempt to mend it. The silence remained unbroken. He merely remained seated, alongside me, within the pain. The duration of our stillness eludes my memory. Yet, at a certain moment he inclined his body forward. Do not lay a hand on me, yet to retrieve a fresh collection of images. Here, he remarked, his fingers gliding deliberately across the screen. These originate from that very instant. Just as you averted your gaze. Each moment captured one frame at a time. I blink, breathe, and swallow hard. They lacked beauty. They were not arranged. Yet, undeniably they existed. You ought to hold on to these, he remarked. Exclusively for myself. Exclusively for you. To keep in mind that she still walks among us. I inclined my head in agreement. Clutched the USB drive with trembling hands. Secretly tucked it away in my purse as if it were forbidden treasure. Felt as though I was bearing a hidden facet of myself, one that remained concealed from the world around me. As I pivoted to depart, he inquired, would you ever allow someone to capture the side of you that remains hidden from the world? I hesitated at the threshold. At that moment I remarked, you have already accomplished that. In the stillness of that night, I found myself alone in the bathroom. A laptop rests atop the closed toilet seat. With headphones on, I navigated through each frame meticulously. For the first time in ages, I kept my gaze steady. On a Thursday evening, the world seemed to pause. The exterior glow was gentle, tinged with a hint of blue, the type of illumination that photographers refer to as golden, even as it begins to fade away. I informed Eli that I would swing by to deliver a token of my gratitude. It was quite unremarkable. A box of tea I had spotted at the farmer's market. The very same type he had presented to me during our initial session. I hadn't intended to linger for too long. Yet, he swung the studio door wide as if he had been anticipating my arrival all along. There are no clients tonight, he remarked. His shirt hung loosely, untucked and casual, with my feet unshod against the cool wooden floor. He appeared weary, yet there was an undeniable beauty in it, as if a person had dedicated the entire day to crafting, yet retained a spark to offer. As I crossed the threshold, I entered the space, presented him with the tea. He offered a smile and set it down on the desk, his gaze elsewhere. Would you like to take a look at something I've been crafting? He inquired. I agreed. He guided me to the rear. Identical environment. Unchanged stillness. The walls, adorned with fresh portraits, exuded a sense of renewal. They are unfamiliar, yet somehow familiar. Each one frozen in a moment of contemplation. In the midst of inhalation. In the midst of discovery. There are no smiles. Without masks. Only the truth. I wish to create another piece inspired by you, he remarked. His voice soft, not commanding. Filled with optimism. Without any cosmetics. There is an absence of light. No staging involved. I gulped. What is the reason? He advanced with purpose. Every time you gaze into the lens, you strive to suppress any emotion. And I desire the moment when you cease your efforts. I perched on the brink of the tattered velvet chair. This time he left the lights untouched. I refrained from raising the lens immediately. He merely cast his gaze in my direction, and spoke nearly in a hush. You don't need to maintain your composure at this moment. That was the turning point. There is a stirring within me. Slipped away. My shoulders sagged. My hands nestled into my lap. As I gazed upon him, as if he were the sole individual privy to the truth. It had been years since I had genuinely let out a breath. I never intended to make contact with him. I truly did not. Yet, as he took a seat beside me, merely to display an image on his screen, my hand grazed his thigh. I remained steadfast. Nor did he. His breath became more measured. So did my own. I angled my gaze in his direction. Refrained from kissing him. Not at this moment. Merely to observe whether he would shift. He did not. His hand lingered in the space between us. Hand open. A call to gather. I positioned mine within it. It was akin to surrendering to gravity's embrace. and ultimately being apprehended. Our lips never met. There was no necessity for that. For in that room, every sound resonated with a volume that eclipsed even the softest of kisses. The stillness, the inhalation, the understanding, and the choice. No, to turn away. I ought to leave, I murmured. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet they held onto my hand firmly. I withdrew, gradually, at a pace that feels almost languid. Then with a deliberate motion turned. He escorted me to the threshold. Not a single word was uttered. Upon stepping outside, his hand brushed against my back. With the utmost tenderness, merely a single finger gliding along the expanse between my shoulder blades. Rest eluded me throughout the night. Yet on this occasion, it wasn't due to a sense of emptiness. It was due to the fact that I ultimately did not. A week later, the photo finally arrived. Enveloped in earthy brown paper, bound with a dark ribbon, a note penned by hand, carefully placed within. For the version of you that slipped through the cracks of memory. Ensure she doesn't vanish once more. It remained unsigned. It was unnecessary. I unsealed it while my husband was engaged in a call. He remained oblivious, his gaze fixed elsewhere as I cut through the paper. It stood before me. The image captured from that final twilight. The moment captured just before my farewell. I did not wear a smile. I was not striking a pose. I appeared as if I were frozen in a moment of contemplation. Gaze gentle, lips parted just a touch. As if I was on the verge of expressing something genuine. After a long hiatus, my breath hitched in my throat. I wished to conceal it. Yet I placed it gently on the table, next to the mail. As the night deepened, he lifted it from the ground. I have delved into it. You look stunning in this, he remarked, taken aback. At that moment, do you think we should hang it in the living room? There was a moment of uncertainty. Yet, just for a fleeting moment. Absolutely. Indeed we did. It was beautifully framed. It was gracefully suspended above the mantel, positioned perfectly between our wedding photograph and the artwork from our anniversary getaway to Napa. Visitors frequently remark on it. You appear utterly tranquil. Such grace. Thus yourself. I offer a courteous smile. Due to their lack of knowledge, the one captured in that image, my thoughts were far from my husband, or my children, or anything I was meant to become. My thoughts drifted to Eli, concerning the manner in which he lingered, anticipating the moment I would cease my charade. He cradled silence as if it were a treasured secret. His refusal to demand more from me, simply truthful. In a fleeting instant, I was indeed. He never reached out again after that. No message sent. There were no reasons left to meet me once more. I too never extended my hand. What we had was never meant to endure the test of time. It was never intended for habitation. Its purpose was to rouse me from slumber. At times I find myself gazing at the photograph. I choose to avert my gaze. Yet the act of listening, it stirred the voice within me once more. The statement that declares, you remain within, and someone witnessed your presence. Even if only for an instant, even if only a single time. My husband continues to believe it's the finest photograph I've ever captured. Perhaps he holds the truth, for that is the vision of the woman I once was, before I lost the ability to feel, and the woman I transformed into, when an individual. At last I have been recalled.